The black Mercedes tore through the icy streets of Seoul while blood dripped slowly from Han Joon-Seo's knuckles onto the leather seat. "Boss, your hand," one of his men muttered nervously. Joon-Seo ignored him. His cold eyes stayed fixed on the snowy road ahead as the city lights blurred past the tinted windows. 10 minutes earlier, he had slammed a rival gang leader's face into a marble table for crossing his territory. Now the man was probably unconscious, maybe dead. Joon-Seo didn't care enough to ask. "Take the bridge route," he said flatly. "Yes, boss." The car turned sharply, then suddenly, wait. The driver hit the brakes hard. "What is it?" the bodyguard asked. Joon-Seo stared through the snowstorm. A figure lay collapsed on the sidewalk, half covered in snow, motionless. One of the men cursed. "Probably drunk, leave it." But Joon-Seo kept staring. Something about the girl bothered him. No coat, gloves. Small trembling hands. A sketchbook scattered beside her in the snow. "Boss, stop talking." The car went silent instantly. Joon-Seo opened the door and stepped into the freezing wind. Snow crunched beneath his shoes as he approached her slowly. Her face was pale from the cold, her lips shook slightly, still alive. He noticed charcoal stains on her fingers. An artist. "Sir, this could be a setup," his guard warned. Joon-Seo crouched beside her. The girl suddenly whispered weakly, barely conscious. "My bag." Even freezing in the snow, she was worried about her bag. Strange. Joon-Seo picked it up himself. Inside were instant noodles, art supplies, and unpaid bills. No wallet full of cash. No tricks, just survival. His jaw tightened. Without another word, he lifted her into his arms. The guards exchanged stunned looks. For 3 years, Han Joon-Seo had never touched anyone gently, not since the incident. "Drive," he ordered. The black Mercedes disappeared into the snow. When Zara Okafor woke up, she thought she had died. The ceiling above her looked expensive enough for heaven. Soft lights glowed across a massive penthouse suite while warmth wrapped around her body. Then she noticed the IV connected to her arm. "What?" She sat up too quickly. Pain shot through her head. "Careful." A deep voice filled the room. Zara turned sharply. A tall man dressed in black stood near the window, one hand in his pocket. Sharp jawline, cold eyes, dangerous silence. Memories flashed back instantly. Snow, dark street, black car, oh God. "You kidnapped me," she blurted. The man blinked once slowly. Then one of his bodyguards nearly choked, trying not to laugh. Joon-Seo looked unimpressed. "If I kidnapped you, you wouldn't be asking questions." "Fair point." She looked around nervously. "Then where am I?" "My house." "That doesn't sound safer." Another guard coughed to hide a laugh. Joon-Seo shot him a deadly glare. Silence returned immediately. Zara slowly pulled the IV from her arm. "Thank you for helping me, but I should go." "You collapsed in the middle of a snowstorm. I've survived worse. You can barely stand." "I can stand perfectly fine." The second she got out of bed, her knees buckled. Joon-Seo caught her instantly. Both froze. For a moment, neither moved. Zara looked up at him. He smelled faintly of smoke and winter air. His grip was careful despite the scars on his hands. Then he let go immediately, like touching her burned him. "Weak," he muttered. Zara frowned. "Rude. You should rest. You should smile more." One of the guards looked horrified. Nobody spoke to Han Joon-Seo like that, but strangely, the corner of Joon-Seo's mouth almost moved. Almost. 3 days later, Zara still hadn't left. Not because she wanted luxury, because she had fainted again trying to leave. Embarrassing. Now she sat cross-legged in the penthouse kitchen wearing oversized clothes borrowed from the house staff while cooking. The rich, spicy aroma filled the air. A bodyguard sniffed cautiously. "What is that?" "Jollof rice," Zara answered proudly. Another guard looked afraid. "Why is it red?" "It's flavor. You people fear seasoning too much." Behind them, Joon-Seo entered silently after a late-night meeting. He stopped walking. The penthouse smelled warm. Different, alive. For years, the place had smelled like whiskey and silence. Now there was music playing softly from Zara's phone while steam rose from the kitchen. Zara looked over her shoulder. "You're back." Joon-Seo loosened his tie slightly. "What are you doing, saving your depressing kitchen?" It was functional. It looked emotionally unavailable. One guard burst out laughing before instantly covering his mouth. Joon-Seo ignored him. Zara pointed at the food. "Sit." "I'm not hungry." That wasn't a request. The guard stared in disbelief. Nobody ordered Joon-Seo around, ever, but after a long pause he sat. The guards looked ready to faint themselves. Zara placed a plate in front of him. "Eat." Joon-Seo eyed the rice suspiciously. "It smells aggressive. It's called spice. Try it." He took one bite, then immediately started coughing. The guards panicked. "Boss," Zara gasped. "Oh my God, are Koreans this weak?" Joon-Seo glared at her while drinking water. Her laughter filled the penthouse loudly. Real laughter, not fake politeness, not fear. Something strange happened in Joon-Seo's chest, something unfamiliar and dangerous. That night, Zara wandered into the living room carrying her sketchbook. Joon-Seo sat alone on the balcony overlooking the city lights. "You always brood like this?" she asked. "Yes, very dramatic. You talk too much. You look too serious." "I am serious." "That sounds exhausting." She sat across from him and started sketching quietly. Joon-Seo watched her cautiously. "What are you drawing?" "You." "Why, you have an interesting face." "That's the worst compliment I've ever heard." "It means handsome but emotionally constipated." For the first time in years, Joon-Seo laughed. A real laugh, low, brief, surprised. Even he looked shocked by it. Zara stared. "There it is," she whispered. His expression hardened instantly. "What?" The human being. Silence settled between them, not awkward, just honest. Then Zara's phone buzzed violently. She checked it, her eyes widened. "What?" She stood up suddenly. "No way." Messages flooded her screen nonstop. Instagram notifications, emails, fashion blogs. Her illustration, the Afro-Korean winter design she posted 2 days ago, had gone viral overnight. 20,000 shares, then 50,000, then more. Her hands shook. "Oh my God," Joon-Seo watched her carefully. "What happened?" Zara looked at him, stunned. "I think my life just changed." And neither of them realized yet that was only the beginning. If you're already hooked into Zara and Joon-Seo's story, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share because things are about to get dangerous. Zara barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, her phone buzzed again. New followers, fashion pages reposting her work, design studios asking for meetings. Even her university professor sent her a message at 3 a.m. "Miss Okafor, call me immediately." This is huge. By morning, she sat frozen at the penthouse dining table staring at her screen while instant notifications exploded nonstop. One of Joon-Seo's guards leaned over carefully. "Are you famous now?" "I don't know," Zara whispered. "I think the internet adopted me overnight." The guard nodded seriously. "That sounds dangerous." "It is dangerous." She suddenly stood up and started packing. "Oh my God, what if they hate my next design? What if this was luck? What if—" "You're loud." Joon-Seo entered the room wearing a black dress shirt, adjusting his watch calmly. Zara pointed at him dramatically. "People in France are reposting my art." "Congratulations. That's all you have to say." "What else am I supposed to say?" "I don't know, clap, cry, something emotional." "I don't do emotional." "See, that right there, that's unhealthy." One guard quietly whispered to another. "She talks to him like they're married already." Joon-Seo heard it. The poor man almost passed out from the glare he received. But Zara laughed so hard she nearly dropped her phone. And once again, Joon-Seo felt that strange warmth pulling at him. Dangerous, comforting, addictive. 2 days later, Zara stood inside a luxury fashion studio in Seoul trying not to panic. Fashion executives flipped through her portfolio while speaking rapid Korean. Her fingers tightened around her sketchbook. Across the room, one woman held up Zara's viral illustration. "This blend of African textures and Korean winter wear," the woman said carefully. "It feels new." Another executive nodded. "There's emotion in it." Zara swallowed nervously. Then suddenly, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She ignored it. The phone rang again and again. Annoyed, she answered quietly. "Hello." Silence. Then a cold male voice replied, "Stay away from Han Joon-Seo." Her expression changed instantly. "Who is this?" "You don't belong near him." Click. The call ended. I stared at the screen. A chill crawled down her spine. That evening, Joon-Seo returned home to find Zara sitting unusually quiet near the balcony. "You're thinking too loudly," he said. She looked up slowly. "Do you have enemies?" Joon-Seo stopped walking. "Why, I got a weird phone call." The temperature in the room seemed to drop instantly. "What did they say?" That I should stay away from you. Silence. The bodyguards exchanged tense looks. Joon-Seo walked toward her slowly. Did they threaten you? No. Did they say your name? No. Did they follow you? I don't think so. His jaw tightened anyway. Without warning, he pulled out his phone. Double security around her, he ordered coldly. Nobody gets near her without clearance. Zara blinked. Wait, hold on, I'm not some mafia princess. You're connected to me now. That sounds terrifying. It should. She stared at him carefully, then softly asked, who hurt you? Joon-Seo's expression darkened instantly. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. That means yes. Silence. Then he walked out. Then finally one of his guards said there was someone before you. Zara's chest tightened unexpectedly. He looked away toward the city lights. She died because people wanted to hurt his family. The room became painfully quiet. He loved her, he admitted flatly, and she paid for it. Zara didn't speak immediately. For the first time since meeting him, she understood something beneath the coldness. Not cruelty, pain, old pain, the kind that never fully leaves. His father told him emotions make men weak, the guard continued quietly. After she died, he believed him. Zara looked at him for a long moment. The next day she saw Joon-Seo sitting in the balcony, then she walked toward him slowly. You know what I think? What? I think you've been lonely for so long that you don't know the difference between weakness and love anymore. His eyes lifted to hers, and for a second the walls around him cracked. 3 nights later, Zara dragged Joon-Seo into the kitchen again. This is suya, she announced proudly. Joon-Seo eyed the spicy grilled meat suspiciously. Why does Nigerian food always look like it wants revenge? Because flavor matters. It smells violent. Eat. I survived knife fights this week. I can survive your cooking. 5 seconds later, he coughed aggressively after taking a bite. Zara nearly collapsed laughing. You're crying. It's the pepper. Sure. One of the guards secretly recorded the moment on his phone. The terrifying Han Joon-Seo coughing over suya. Historical footage. Then suddenly Joon-Seo grabbed Zara's wrist, fast, instinctive, his eyes locked toward the window sharply. What? He pulled her behind him instantly. Bang! A sniper bullet shattered the penthouse glass. Everyone ducked. The guards pulled guns immediately. Move! Another bullet ripped through the room. Glass exploded everywhere. Zara's heart slammed against her chest. Joon-Seo shoved her toward the hallway. Stay down! Gunfire erupted outside. One guard shouted into his earpiece. We found the shooter. Joon-Seo grabbed his pistol calmly. Too calmly. The coldness returned to his face instantly. Lethal. Zara grabbed his arm before he could leave. Don't go. For one brief moment his expression changed again, human. Then he gently removed her hand. I have to, and disappeared. An hour later the penthouse looked like a war zone. Broken glass covered the floor. Guards moved everywhere, but Zara only stared silently at the blood staining Joon-Seo's sleeve after he returned. You're hurt. It's nothing. That's literally blood. I've had worse. You could have died, his patience snapped suddenly. This is why people around me suffer. The room froze. Joon-Seo ran a frustrated hand through his hair. You think this life is exciting, he snapped bitterly. People die around me, Zara, but you're alive. Barely. And you think pushing everyone away fixes that? It keeps them breathing. Silence, heavy silence. Then quietly Zara stepped closer. You don't scare me. That's your first mistake. No, she whispered. Your mistake is thinking you deserve to be alone forever. Those words hit harder than bullets. Joon-Seo looked away first, because deep down part of him wanted to believe her, and that terrified him more than any enemy ever could. If this story is pulling you in deeper, hit like, comment your favorite moment so far, subscribe and share because the next part changes everything. For the next 2 weeks, Han Joon-Seo became even more dangerous. 3 rival warehouses burned overnight. 2 gang leaders disappeared. Nobody in Seoul's underground world spoke his name casually anymore. But inside the penthouse, silence slowly replaced warmth again. Zara noticed it immediately. He stopped eating with her. Stopped laughing. Stopped staying home. Every night she heard distant phone calls filled with violence. Every morning she saw fresh bruises hidden beneath his sleeves. And the more danger closed in around him, the colder he became. One rainy evening, Zara stood alone inside her university exhibition hall, adjusting her fashion pieces with trembling hands. Her showcase was tomorrow. Years of struggle had led to this moment. African textures blended with sleek Korean silhouettes filled the room beautifully. Students walked around whispering admiration. One classmate approached her excitedly. "Zara, your work is trending everywhere," another smiled. "There are actual fashion CEOs coming tomorrow." Zara forced a smile. Normally she would have been thrilled, but her mind stayed elsewhere on him. Her phone buzzed, a message from Joon-Seo. "Proud of you." That was it, 3 words, yet her chest tightened painfully, because somehow those words felt like goodbye. That same night, Joon-Seo sat inside a private room while his father poured tea calmly. Han Sung studied his son quietly. "You're distracted." "I'm handling it." "You're becoming emotional." Joon-Seo's jaw tightened. Sung sipped his tea slowly. "She reminds me of your mother." Silence. That caught him off guard. "She has the same eyes," Sung continued. "Warm, fearless. You hated her at first." "I doubted her." "That's different." "It is." Joon-Seo leaned back tiredly. "They targeted my penthouse because of me. And Zara almost died because she knows me." Sung looked at him carefully, then said the last thing Joon-Seo expected. "If you push her away now, you will regret it for the rest of your life." But fear had already rooted itself too deeply inside him. The following evening, Zara's showcase exploded with success. Cameras flashed nonstop. Fashion executives praised her work. Her design stole the entire event. One reporter asked excitedly, "What inspired this collection?" Zara paused, then answered honestly, "Finding warmth in unfamiliar places." Applause filled the room. But across the hall, Zara suddenly spotted 2 unfamiliar men watching her carefully. Not fashion guests, not students, cold eyes. Watching, her stomach dropped. One of them touched his earpiece, then walked away quickly. Fear crawled up her spine instantly. She grabbed her phone, called Joon-Seo. No answer. Again, nothing. Then suddenly, the lights inside the exhibition hall shut off. People screamed. Chaos erupted instantly. Zara's breathing quickened. Somewhere in the darkness, a man shouted, "Grab her!" A hand seized Zara's arm roughly. She kicked hard instinctively. The man cursed. People ran everywhere blindly. Then bang! A gunshot echoed through the hall. The crowd panicked. Another gunshot. Then a familiar cold voice thundered through the darkness. "Touch her again and die, Joon-Seo." The emergency lights flickered back on. Joon-Seo stood near the entrance holding a gun while his guards flooded the building. The attacker released Zara immediately and tried to run. He didn't get far. Joon-Seo slammed him brutally against a wall. Everyone froze. The entire room watched in horror as Seoul's most feared Mafia heir nearly killed a man with his bare hands. Blood stained his knuckles again. Old memories crashed into Zara instantly. This was his world: violence, fear, death, and suddenly she understood. No matter how much he cared about her, this danger would never stop. Joon-Seo looked at her afterward. His eyes softened instantly, but Zara looked terrified. That broke something inside him. Later that night, rain poured heavily outside the penthouse windows. Zara stood silently near the door holding her bag. Joon-Seo faced away from her, emotionless again, cold again. Finally he spoke. "You should leave Seoul." Her breath caught. "What?" "You heard me. Because tonight happened. You don't belong in this world." Anger flashed across her face. "Then let me decide that. You can't survive this life. You don't get to choose my future for me." "Yes, I do." She stared at him in disbelief, then quietly asked, "Why are you doing this?" His fists clenched painfully, because he loved her, because he was terrified, because every person he loved got hurt. But instead of saying that, he chose cruelty. "You were a distraction." Silence. The words landed like a knife. Joon-Seo forced himself not to look at her. "If we never met," he continued coldly, "none of this would matter to me." Zara's eyes filled with tears instantly, but she refused to let them fall. "You don't mean that." "I do. You're lying." "I'm not." Pain flickered across her face. Still she stood tall. No begging, no screaming, just heartbreak wrapped in dignity. Finally Zara nodded slowly. "Okay." That single word hurt more than rage ever could. She picked up her bag, walked to the door, then stopped briefly. "I hope one day," she whispered softly, "you learn that loving someone is not the same thing as destroying them." And then she left. The penthouse became silent again, painfully silent. Joon-Seo stood there motionless long after the door closed. Then finally, he shattered the glass beside him with his fist. Because the second she walked away, he already knew he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. 1 month later, Han Joon-Seo looked exhausted. He barely slept, barely ate. The entire house felt dead again. No music, no laughter, no smell of spices in the kitchen, nothing. Even his guards noticed it. One finally muttered carefully, "Boss, you should bring her back." Joon-Seo said nothing because pride still chained him until his father entered his office quietly one evening. Sung stared at him for a long moment. "You look miserable." "I'm fine." "No, you look like a man grieving someone still alive." Silence. Then Sung placed a photo on the table, a picture of Zara at her new art studio. "She rebuilt her life without you," he said calmly. Joon-Seo stared at the photo. Zara was smiling again, but he wasn't beside her. That hurt more than any wound he'd ever taken. Then Sung spoke softly. "Your mother once told me something before she died." Joon-Seo looked up slowly. "She said fear makes cowards out of men who are capable of love." The room fell silent. For the first time in years, Joon-Seo allowed himself to feel everything fully, and it destroyed him. Snow fell softly across Seoul the night he found Zara again. She stood outside a small art studio, locking the door after work, then suddenly froze. Because Han Joon-Seo stood across the street staring at her like a man who hadn't breathed properly in weeks. Neither moved at first. Finally, Zara spoke quietly. "You found me. I looked everywhere." Snow settled onto his dark coat as he walked closer slowly. For once there were no guards, no weapons, no masks, just him. "I was wrong," he said immediately. Zara crossed her arms tightly. "That's not enough." "I know. You hurt me, I know. You pushed me away because you were scared." Joon-Seo's voice broke slightly. "I thought losing you slowly would hurt less than watching you die because of me." Zara's anger softened just a little, but not fully. Then finally, for the first time in his life, Han Joon-Seo bowed his head, not as a Mafia heir, not as a powerful man, just as someone in love. "Every day without you felt empty," he admitted quietly. "I tried to protect you. But all I did was lose the person I love most." Tears filled Zara's eyes. Snowflakes melted softly against her skin. "I love you, Zara." Silence. Then she stepped closer slowly. "You don't get forgiven in one speech." A tiny, broken laugh escaped him. "I figured. You're going to earn my trust back properly." "I will. You're going to communicate instead of acting dramatic and emotionally damaged." "That sounds difficult." "It's necessary." For the first time in over a month, Zara smiled, small, real, and Joon-Seo felt warmth return to his chest again. Months later, the violent rumors surrounding Han Joon-Seo slowly faded. People whispered that he was leaving the underground world behind. Most didn't believe it, until he disappeared completely. In his place, a new cafe gallery quietly opened in Seoul. It blended black African art, black Korean elegance, black music, black fashion, black food, black and warmth. Zara's illustrations decorated the walls, and every evening the smell of jollof rice and coffee filled the air together. One snowy night, Zara stood outside the cafe watching the snow fall softly. Joon-Seo stepped beside her silently, then gently took her hand. This time she wasn't alone in the cold anymore, and neither was he. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Drop your location in the comments. I want to know where in the world this story found you. Subscribe because the next story is already in the works. And if you thought this one had tension, you haven't seen anything yet.